I visited hundreds of universities, and ultimately I was looking at the wrong course, hence why I didn't like any of them. It's one of the biggest deciding factors. All of these universities are just gonna merge into one big pile of mush. Can you picture yourself living here? This is one big question. Yes, you wanna go to one with a good reputation, but my channel. So you suddenly have this really long summer and you want to start looking about what university and what course you want to do. And I know it can seem like a huge decision, and in lots of ways it is, but all of these essential tips are going to make it seem a lot less scary and help you find the perfect course and university for you. And if you are new, then hello, welcome, I am Anna. My channel has all things academia, medicine, fashion, and it would mean so much if you decided to stick around and subscribe. And if you are not new, then welcome back. I hope you are all doing amazing. So you're suddenly faced with the prospect of having online open days, and I actually cannot imagine it being your position, but all of these tips are going to guide you through the process and help you work out what university suits you. I know there are hundreds and the decision can seem absolutely ridiculous, but this is just a simple step-by-step guide of tips to help you out. Now, the first university I decided to go to, I got the decision completely wrong. I ended up not liking the course and not liking the university, so I feel like I'm very qualified to help you out and stop you making the mistakes I did. Throughout today's video, you're going to find out why the first decision of university was wrong and what to look out for to make sure you don't make the same mistakes and find a university for you. Firstly is about courses, and you want to make sure that the course dictates the uni and not the university dictating the course. Before you even go out and make a short list of all of your favourite universities, you want to know roughly what course you want to study. You don't need to know exactly, but you need to know roughly which course you want to do, because some universities you could absolutely fall in love with them and they don't do your course, so that would be a waste of visit to the university or waste of even thinking about that university. Some universities might have really weird versions of the course that you want to study, so you shouldn't go and study there just because you love the university. This brings me on to tip number 2, and if you have absolutely no idea of what course you want to do, then go out and do your research. Research it online, find past students, do courses, and get a flavour for what the course will be like to see if it's something that interests you. This degree is going to be 3, 4, 5 years of your life, so you really need to make sure you find the course interesting. You don't want to turn up and on week 1 find it so boring and think, God, how many years have I got left of this? You want to make sure you've done a bit of research and actually like the subject you're going to go and study at university. This is like an even harder decision of picking your A-levels, but you want to make sure that you enjoy it predominantly. Sometimes you're not going to absolutely love what you decide, but you should be passionate about the subject you want to study at degree level. I would also recommend thinking about what sort of job you could see yourself doing in the future. Don't just completely ignore this. I know with so many graduate programs you could have any degree you wanted, and if you're happy just going on a general graduate scheme and working for a business or working for anywhere else that take graduates, then that is amazing, and maybe go out and do some work experience in a kind of field just to get a feel for what life in the real world and in a job is going to be like. But also, if you're thinking of doing law, medicine, veterinary, getting work experience and thinking about what you're going to do with this degree as a job is absolutely fundamental. It is so important to go out and get work experience or just get a flavour as much as you can for that career to see if it suits you. I went into an office and decided, oh my God, I hated it. Like, I actually hated sitting in an office all day. I couldn't picture myself like that. And instantly I knew anything in an office job wouldn't be for me. So this is important to take into consideration when you are picking your course. Linking with this, make sure you don't pick a course just because your parents are telling you to. They're pushing you down medicine or pushing you down law, because it's your life, your course is in your control, and ultimately you want to do a job and a course and a degree that you enjoy and that makes you happy. Tip 3 is league tables. And it is so important to compare lots of different league tables. So the one I used to use is the University Guide and the Guardian. And it's good to compare a couple and get a flavour for where the university you're looking at is on the overall league table, but also for your specific course. However, there's a big but that comes with league tables. Do not get obsessed with where your university lies on the league tables. It is important if you want to go to, say, the top 10 or the top 20 and have a look for those universities with a really good reputation reputation. However, the difference of 5 places, 10 places really isn't that big. You want to look at the student satisfaction rate, and for me that was always the most important, because you want to make sure the students are enjoying the course. But it's just so important to not get completely fixated on, yes, you want to go to one with a good reputation, but at the end of the day, the difference between Nottingham, Birmingham, Sheffield, any Russell Group university really is not that deep. As long as employers see your university as well respected, for me that was enough. And you should also look at the TEF, which is a new framework which universities use, and I personally thought this is really important because it's all about how they teach at the university and whether it was a good standard. So I always like to look for universities with a gold TEF, just because it means their teaching is to a slightly higher standard, and this might be something that's important to you too. So you now have a rough list of universities, which could be 10, 20, 30 universities long, and how are you going to differentiate them? Well, I think it's so important to go through and look at the modules for your course. So read through that thing which has all of the modules, read it in detail, because you will be shocked at how much each course differs at each university. For instance, I'm taking medicine. You think medicine? It's medicine. Everyone needs to learn the same thing. Oh no. These vary massively for universities. For medicine in particular, the big differences are like dissection versus prosection, or you also have problem-based learning or more traditional courses. You can have compulsory 6-year courses where you have to do an intercalated degree. Honestly, these courses differ massively at each university. I've spoken to friends who are doing history, and you could be studying a completely different era. But you might want to do like World War II, and that university don't cover that. Or in English, you want to study a certain book, and the books this university study you hate. The courses really do vary, so it's so important to look at the modules and see whether or not you find this interesting. Each university will most likely specialise in specific areas of that subject. But when I was looking at biology, somewhere like Bristol was very ecology based, and I hated ecology, so I know that wasn't even really worth a visit. Did I visit it? Yes, because I visited hundreds of universities, and ultimately I was looking at the wrong course, hence why I didn't like any of them. This brings us nicely on to open days, and it does suck a little bit that you potentially might not be able to go on them, but trust me, the rest of these tips are going to help you out regardless of open days or not. They are fundamental in deciding your university. But if we do get to go on open days, I mean, fingers crossed, just make the most of the open day. Go and see everything from where you'll be living, to the gyms, to the little cafes on the site, and go and see the city that you will be living in. You're going to be living in this city for 3, 4, 5 years, so you really need to love the city you're in, see yourself in that city, and get a feel for the university. Can you picture yourself living here? This is one big question, and I really struggled to see myself at any of these universities, so don't worry too much, but go off that feeling that you get. You're going to instantly know whether you love this university or whether you hate it, and stick to that feeling. You do know. Also, my biggest tip for open days is to take as many photos as you possibly can. All of these universities are just going to merge into one big pile of mush, and you're not going to be able to remember which university was which. So take photos and videos and create folders on your phone for each different university, so you can go back and look at what you liked, what university was this that was at, before you forget everything. Next is location and distance. Now, this was originally so important to me. I only wanted to be an hour and a half away from home. Did I end up picking a university that was an hour and a half away from home? Nope. I ended up with one that was only 3 hours away at Leeds, and ultimately I didn't end up going there. Distance was so important to me, so if it is, stick to your guns. But also, if it's not, then go and look at these universities. You really need to sit down and think about whether location and distance from home is that important to you, or whether you're just going to get used to it. I would go and do the drive. So say it's 3 hours away, even if you're not allowed to go to the university, get in the car with your parents and drive 3 hours and think, can I imagine myself being this far away from home? I personally couldn't. I just wanted to know I could get back if I needed to, but for you it might not make that big a difference. Just don't fall into the trap of thinking that it is fine and then getting to results day and realising that is so overwhelming, the thought of being that far away from home, and regretting picking a university that is nearer. Next up is campus versus non-campus universities, and I would say this for me is one of the biggest deciding factors when it came to universities. I ended up really not liking non-campus unis. What is a non-campus uni? So campus universities tend to be all in one place. They tend to be a little bit further out from the city, and they have everything you need all in one place. So you're going to have your living, the gyms, the libraries, your departments, all in kind of like a bubble. And I think this gives such a lovely community feel, and I just like how near everything is. Everything tends to be like 10-15 minutes away, and places like Birmingham, Nottingham, Warwick are all campus universities, whereas you have non-campus universities which are kind of plonked in the city and scattered around a little bit more. So everything's going to be a bit further spread out. It doesn't have as much as a heart. But the positives are you are much nearer the cities than non-campus universities tend to be. So you can easily like pop to bars, pop to restaurants, get to pubs, etc, etc. And these are places like Manchester, UCL and Bristol. And you've just got to decide what you prefer. If you can't go to the open days, this is quite hard to decide. But just think about your characteristics and what you think is going to suit you better. Do you prefer like hustly bustly cities and being a bit more spread out and independent? Or do you want that much more community feel of a campus uni? Unfortunately, you do have to think about your grades. I know, I wish it wasn't a problem, but think about your predicted grades and be realistic. Optimistic, but realistic. You don't want to be applying for all universities that are way above what you're predicted, or ultimately selling yourself short and going too far below. What I would say is take your predicted grades and look maybe 1 or 2 grades higher and 1 or 2 grades lower, so that you have a good different mix of grade requirements. Don't get all your hopes pinned on one university that is say 2 grades higher than you want and not have a backup. You want to make sure you have one that maybe pushes you, that you love, or one that is on your predicted grades, but also make sure you have a backup that you would be happy to go to as putting as your second choice. On results day, you may have a disaster, so you want to make sure there is an option that you would be happy to go to. Think about the university, the course, and think, if everything goes wrong, would I still go here? Now, I've briefly mentioned this, but it's so important to take into consideration other factors about the university that are important to you in particular. So do you like sport? Do you want to be in a city and have lots of nightlife? Do you want to be in catered or non-catered accommodation? And the distance. Just think about all the things that are really important to you and write a little list of your criteria. Once you have your rough list of universities, this then becomes so helpful to compare them and come up with some kind of order or shortlist some of them. I think this step is so important, and also I would prioritize them. So think of ones that are priority, because you're never going to find a university that ticks all of your boxes unless you're not picky or really lucky, because I'm so picky and there's never going to be one that's absolutely perfect. But seeing which university ticks more boxes is a really useful way to decide, especially if you're incredibly indecisive like me. Finally, an amazing way to get a proper feel of the university is to speak to the university. Speak to them and speak to ex-students. So if you have any really particular questions that the university can answer, contact them by email or phone them up. They will be more than happy to help you and answer any questions that they can, because they want to sell these universities to you. So if you have any questions, then phone them, and also speak to ex-students. These students know the most about the universities, and you're really going to get a flavour of what the university is like if you talk to them, either on the student room, or if you have any ex-pupils from your school that went to the university, just pop them a message. Honestly, you'll be so shocked how much they want to help you, and just ask what they like and what they don't like about the universities. If you want a really honest understanding of it, then go around and ask what they don't like. At every single open day, I asked the students what they liked, but also what they don't like, and decided whether or not these were real big turn-offs for me. If it was something that was so important on my criteria list and the university didn't do it well, then ultimately I wouldn't go to a university like that. Just don't be shy to ask it. People love helping you out and giving their opinions on universities. They go there, they love their unis, or they hate their unis in some instances, and it's so important to ask them to find out. Those are all of my tips on how to find the perfect uni and course. I really hope you found today's video helpful, and if you did, it would mean so much if you give it a big thumbs up and subscribe, and comment below what your favourite university currently is. I'd be so interested to know where you all want to go, and best of luck in deciding. I know you will find the right uni for you, and I will see you in my next video so soon, everybody. Bye!